Good afternoon. I of course know about what happened last night in Austin, Texas, and I'm going to be talking about that a little bit, and hopefully figuring out a little something with it, putting some more puzzle pieces together because there's a lot of different events going on. Smitty had given me a link earlier about an incident in Michigan with the school with something that's just not adding up in the story, and we'll be covering that as well as the news conference today in Austin, Texas. Now, here's the interesting thing. Um, there is so much going on with so many different schools. Ever since that happened in Florida, just non-stop craziness. I was unaware of it, but I guess Illinois, and I believe it was Smitty tagged me in this too as well. Illinois is now, I guess it's already a done deal. The legislation to take firearms away from younger people. I don't know a lot of the details of the law. Um, the Blue Lives Matter group on Facebook is the one that posted it. I made sure to reply and ask them who was going to enforce this because you kind of have to make a choice. If you work in law enforcement, you're going to have to make a choice whether or not you betray your oath and the American people, or you just follow orders. And I know that there had been many laws for many, many years that have restricted many different individuals from participating in their unalienable or unalienable rights, which is shocking to me that it's even been allowed to go this far. But I think that they are crossing a line in the sand. I really do, because this is just too much, too quick, and I think they're on a race. I think they're on a race, and with some of the stuff that we're seeing happen, I think it's really clear about that race. Now, Dabu had actually put out a video earlier, not real long ago, talking about an incident with a bridge. Let me see here. Lewis and Clark Bridge closed after man witnessed lowering suspicious bags onto it. So I don't know what's up with that necessarily. I will pull up that video from Smitty uh, when when this incident happened in Michigan. I have to pull that up though. I don't have it up already, but that's okay. I can pull it up while I'm playing the video from Austin today. The very concerning thing about the video from Michigan was the story itself. The story itself is just absolutely that there's a piece missing there that I think is very, very vital. Okay. So let's go ahead and let me run through the Twitter, and that won't take me long, and then we'll get to this deal with this press conference today in Austin. And I'm just finding a lot of this stuff really strange. I really am. And I think that they're making their big push. And there are so many things happening just because we don't go on the air Saturday and Sunday doesn't mean that I shut my brain off and I don't read articles, I don't research, I don't pay attention. I do. I most certainly do. In fact, I get more of that done on the weekends, which is actually nice because I'm not so rushed trying to get a show together. If I see a rabbit hole, I can start going down it. So anyway, let me get through this Twitter list real quick. The stories I tweeted today, starting out with what I tweeted last night, which was the article in Austin. Explosion in Austin, Texas injures 2 as serial bomber still at large. UK will either have to offer facts on Russian traces in Skripal. I keep saying Skripal, it's actually Skripal, poisoning or apologize. EU condemns Salisbury attack, urges Russia to address questions on nerve agent. And believe me, they're going to push it. They're going to push that Russia did it. That's all there is to it. Believe me, because there is something much more sinister behind the scenes that Trump is absolutely playing into. I don't know what to tell people. I really do not know what to tell people. Trump is not trying to drain the international interest swamp. Okay? If anything, he's trying to drain his special interest swamp. And that's it. That's really it. I know I've seen information that's come out. I know that technically they're so many steps closer to a Hillary indictment. I know the whole junk with, with what McCabe, I think it was. I get all that. I really do. And yesterday, the former something or another came forward, FBI assistant director or something like that. Came forward and made a statement about the corruption. I know about all this stuff, okay? I don't expect to see anything happen from it, folks. I don't. They're buying time. That's all they're doing is buying time. What we need to be concerned with is what are they buying time for? That is what we need to focus on. Okay, Turkish army seizes U.S. arms left by YPG terrorists in Afrin. Humanitarian corridor in action. Civilians exit area in Syria's eastern Ghouta. UK police see no connection between Skripal and Glushkov cases. A U.S. caught evacuating more Daesh leaders in Syria. You hear that? U.S. caught evacuating more Daesh leaders in Syria. Insane. Putin says Russia will not participate in arms race. And I don't think he is. I think he's just trying to, make sure that his nation's secure. I mean, what's going on is insane. Either he's a part of it all, and they're playing a really, really damn good show, which I find hard to believe because our government just looks like the one of the worst B-rated movies I've ever seen. But, either he's playing a really good part, and he's a really good actor with it, or the man just wants left alone and he wants out of this new world order. That's what I'm seeing. Theresa May says Russia had intention and motive to poison Skripal. I mean, come on. These folks aren't even paying attention to what's going on in their own countries. They could care less. All they want to do right now is assassinate Putin's character. That's all they want to do. And essentially, figuratively, assassinate Putin himself, I'm sure. UK's Johnson says NATO's Stoltenberg discuss Skripal case. Damascus demands Turkish forces immediate withdrawal from Syrian lands. And you would think a country, well, in the United States, the country is a company, but you would think that a country would have that right to say, hey, you know what? Here you've got a president talking about putting up a wall so Mexicans can't cross over the border, but yet we can just go in and be in Syria when we're not wanted there? Really? Wow. I'll tell you what, this country, Trump bans U.S. transactions with Venezuela's digital currency, which I find crazy. I know somebody commented on the Facebook page about it, like, who cares, blah, 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 blah. Well, I care. And the reason why every one of us should care about that is because if the U.S. is just going around banning currencies, guess what that means? Guess what that means? They're absolutely enslaving you into their system, period. So we have to care about the other guy, folks. That's the only way that we can come out on top. We have to give a damn about people other than ourselves. The only way. Only way. Uber self-driving car hits and kills pedestrian in Arizona. Can you believe that? But you know what? It's part of the agenda, and they're going to keep pushing it. Push, 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 because that's what they want. That's what they want. So let's go on over to this video. Now, I had actually kind of reprocessed the video, tried to kind of fancy it up. I don't know. It had our local news on it, and I was just not that I care. This is going up for the monologue though, and that's why I did that. It's not like I'd get in trouble for this video. KMOV isn't quite like CNN, you know what I mean? So anyway, here is the news conference from this morning in Austin, Texas. And there are a few interesting notes in there. And one thing I want to say before I even play the video, because I'll forget by the time the video's over with, is towards the end, right at the end of this video, this officer is actually asking the suspects. Now, they don't have anybody in mind, right? They have no idea who this is, at least so they say. But they're asking them to come forward and talk to them. Really? Really? That's interesting. That is really interesting. Okay, that you would ask somebody that's going around and committing acts of terror, right? That you would ask them, would you just please turn yourself in, because we really suck at our job, and so it would really help if you would just like turn yourself in, because you know we can't do it. We can shoot unarmed people, we got that handled, but we can't actually catch anybody that's actually doing something wrong. And that's if this is all up to snuff and yada, yada, yada. But, you know, with everything that's going on, I don't think that all this stuff is copycats. I question a lot of it. But pay attention in the news conference. Maybe you can point some other stuff out. Again, this is Austin, Texas, and this is the press conference from this morning. And I'll let it play out. I'll go nab that video that Smitty shared with me earlier from up there in Michigan. And we'll go from there.
Christopher Combs, the special agent in charge of the FBI, Troy Gay, an assistant chief with the Austin Police Department. Again, we're here for an incident that began last night at approximately 8:32 when we had an explosion take place in the neighborhood behind us. That explosion injured 2 people that were walking along the side of the road. Those individuals are currently in a local hospital. They are a 22 and 23-year-old males, both Anglo males. They are both in the hospital right now. They are in stable condition, but they did receive significant injuries from the explosion that took place. Where we are right now, we have made the scene safe this morning. As you all know, we held the scene last night, given that it was dark and given that we believe that a tripwire may have been in effect on this device. Given the safety concerns that gave us for not only this neighborhood, but for all of the public safety professionals that are here working this, we held the scene overnight so that we could process it in daylight in a much safer way. What we have been able to do this morning is do another sweep of the entire area so that we know that the area is now safe, and we now have the specialists from both ATF and FBI conducting the post-blast investigation behind us. We have additional resources being brought to bear in Austin to continue assisting us in this ongoing investigation. We have bomb technicians from both the San Antonio Police Department as well as the Houston Police Department en route, and the Texas Department of Public Safety is assisting us as well, bringing in additional resources. There has already been a significant presence from our federal partners since these events began. And as we reported yesterday, we have over 500 agents and their teams working on Austin cases alone. And we have additional resources being brought in again by both of those agencies. And as has already been broadcast, there is a $100,000 reward out there for someone who can give us a tip leading to the identification of the suspect or suspects in this incident, along with another $15,000 reward that's been put out by the governor's office for the same. We would like to reach out to those that live in the Travis Country neighborhood behind us. If you have video surveillance on your house, whether it be surveillance cameras, Nest cameras, anything like that, we want to get your video footage so that we can have that analyzed and identify any potential suspicious persons, vehicles, or anything that may be of interest to this investigation. So again, if you live in Travis Country and you have video surveillance on your home, please contact us at 512-974-5210 so we can get in there quickly and get that video. This neighborhood is still being locked down right now for safety. and we expect it to be so until approximately 2 p.m. today, but we will update that as necessary throughout the day. Again, we're doing this in overabundance of caution so that we can keep this neighborhood safe while we process the scene. There's still a significant amount of evidence. As you can imagine, with a blast scene like this, the evidence is strewn across quite a significant distance, and it's going to take us a while to methodically go through and collect this evidence so that we make sure we get it right. What I can tell you is, based on the preliminary review that we have done at this time, we have seen similarities in the device that exploded here last night and the other 3 devices that have exploded in Austin starting on March 2nd. Again, this is preliminary information, but we have seen similarities. The big difference in this device, again, is we believe that a tripwire was used in this device. Agent Milanowski from the ATF is going to talk here in a little while and go over tripwires and what all that entails. So that will be covered in more depth here in a few minutes. What we want to reinforce is the safety message that we've been putting out to this community for quite some time, and we've obviously updated that a little bit. In the past, we've been talking about the importance of not touching suspicious packages, not moving packages, not handling packages. The belief that we are now dealing with someone who's using tripwires shows a higher level of sophistication, a higher level of skill. And so now what we are imploring the community to do, if you see any suspicious object or item that looks out of place, do not even approach it, but instead call 911 and report that to the police department so we can send folks out to check that and ensure that it is safe. So again, do not approach these suspicious items, anything that you may see, whether it be a bag, a backpack, a box. And again, this is why we have avoided giving specific descriptions of the prior 3 devices, because it was never confirmed that that would be the design that this suspect or suspects would stick with. So that's the important message today to this community, is make sure that you are safe and make sure you contact us if you see something that looks suspicious or that looks out of place. Again, we want to ensure the safety of this neighborhood, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as we work through this investigation to do so. With that, I'm going to ask Special Agent Milanowski to come up and talk a little bit about tripwires.
All right, we want to talk a little bit about this because this device is a little more sophisticated than what we've seen to date. All the evidence from the previous devices is at the ATF National Laboratory, as will this evidence. But the tripwire is a victim-actuated switch. It literally uses some kind of wire, and when there's pressure put on that wire, it activates or detonates the device. So it can be either from tripping over it or picking up the package. Any tension that's put on that wire, sometimes it's thin filament, sometimes it's fishing line. But like the chief said, we're even more concerned now that people see something suspicious, they just stay away from it altogether and contact law enforcement. Because if they move that package or if they step on that tripwire, it's likely to detonate. So we want to put that information out to the public and make sure that if they see a bag, a suitcase, a box, anything that's unusual and not normally in that area, call law enforcement. We're bringing in extra explosive detection canines in order to be able to check out all those packages and make sure the public stays as safe as possible. Thank you.
I just want to highlight, obviously this is very concerning to us. The FBI has brought in over 350 special agents to work here. It's an unprecedented response to Austin. We're here to support the Austin Police Department. I want to highlight again with these packages, with this tripwire, this changes things. It's more sophisticated. It's not targeted to individuals. We're very concerned that with tripwires, a child could be walking down a sidewalk and hit something. So it's very important that here in Austin, if anyone sees anything suspicious, you do not go near that package, and you immediately call law enforcement so we can get bomb techs out there to deal with the suspect package. Additional teams have been brought to bear here in Austin with the area police departments, the state bomb squad, the federal bomb squads are here. We're bringing in extra bomb techs as we speak to make sure that we can handle every suspicious call that happens here, not just in Austin, but in the surrounding communities as well. So it is very important that we stay away from anything we consider to be suspicious. I would also like to highlight there's a $100,000 reward out right now for anyone that can give us information that can lead us to stop the bombings. We need this to stop. We are very concerned that people can get hurt by this just by walking now. We have tripwires. $100,000 is a lot of money, and we're hoping somebody knows something and that they can call us and help us stop what's going on here. Thank you.
And the only thing that I'll add before we open it up for questions is we have utilized the reverse 911 system. However, many of you all probably already aware there was a glitch in the system and it went out across the majority of the city. So we were putting out through social media, Travis Country is the only neighborhood that is affected, and Travis Country is the neighborhood that we want to have people stay sheltered in place in their residences until 2 p.m. this afternoon or until we advise further. So with that, we'll go ahead and open up for questions.
Chief, at what time are you going to call this domestic terrorism?
Well, you know, that's been the question all along, is this terrorism, is this hate related? And we're early on in the investigation today. We've only gotten into the preliminary phases, and as the day moves on, that is something that we're going to analyze. We are clearly dealing with what we expect to be a serial bomber at this point based on the similarities between now what is the fourth device. And again, as we look at this individual and the pattern and what we're looking at here, we will have to determine if we see a specific ideology behind this or something that will lead us along with our federal partners to make that decision.
So there's some ATVs down in the Greenbelt.
What are y'all doing down there?
Right now, the ATVs are here just in case we need to go into this green belt. Again, we're not certain from which direction the suspect or suspects may have entered this area, and so they're here in case we need to get through the wooded area here as part of the evidence collection process.
And this is not terrorism?
I can't hear.
Have you been able other neighborhoods? Are you searching in different places since it's so spread across the city?
So what we're doing right now, again, as we've talked about before, this has to be a community response. This is something we're going to solve as a community. The officers that are working in the neighborhoods are paying attention not only for the suspicious packages, but also items that may look out of place. The Department of Public Safety is going to send additional troopers into the Austin area to help us patrol and be visible in the neighborhoods and to help us look for those suspicious items or just to inform the community of where we're at with the investigation. So there's additional work being done on this.
Do you believe this suspect has a message?
A suspect profile or any kind of information about who he was targeting?
So as we mentioned yesterday, we have had a large number of tips that have come in through the past week, and each and every one of those tips gets worked by the teams we described. They come into the command center and they get assigned out to either a team of ATF investigators or FBI investigators or Austin Police Department investigators. So throughout the course of this past week, there were points in time where we had persons of interest because of information that had been provided. And then as we furthered the investigation into those individuals, either their backgrounds, their social media life, things like that, we have run those leads to ground. And at this point, we are following up on a few more. We have had persons of interest, and we continue to look at a few, but we have not identified a suspect or suspects as of this time.
Chief, have you been able to speak with the two latest victims and what at all? And in this latest bombing, was the package visible? Is the tripwire visible? I think people might want to know, what they should be looking for.
Yeah. So as far as speaking to the victims, they're obviously in the hospital receiving care, and that's what we're concerned with. We have had initial conversations with them to get an idea of where the device was, and the device was sitting next to a fence is where we expect it to be. And again, as Special Agent Malinowski talked about, the tripwire can be a filament wire, can be fishing line, it can be a metal wire. So that's why people just need to pay attention to see if there's a device that is seated somewhere near, because the tripwire would be attached to that device and it would pull on it to then activate. So again, that's what we need is people paying attention for suspicious objects, bags, boxes, backpacks, anything that just looks out of place, and then especially if they see any type of a wire extruding from that.
Is there anything else at all about similarities, materials, anything?
So what we have said to this community from day one, we are going to give you information that keeps you safe. That's why we got on camera at 1:30 in the morning when we felt like there might be a tripwire in play, because we didn't want to wait until this morning to put that information out, because that's information that helps keep this community safe. The specific components of the bomb, the firing mechanism that the suspect or suspects are using, that doesn't help keep the community safe, and that is something that is being kept confidential by us and our federal partners to protect the integrity of the investigation.
Is it difficult to set these without suicide bombs?
Suspects were putting these on specific porches, and now, like Special Agent Holmes said, it's a little more broad to be triggered by anyone. What does that tell you about the person behind this?
Well, again, as we said from the very beginning, we were not willing to classify this as terrorism, as hate, because we just don't know enough. And what we have seen now is a significant change from what appeared to be 3 very targeted attacks to what was last night an attack that would have hit a random victim that happened to walk by. So we've definitely seen a change in the method that this suspect or suspect is using.
Chief, you tried to communicate know enough about why the suspect is doing what they're doing?
Were they walking along the sidewalk along the fence and came across this tripwire? Or were they walking between houses? Can you kind of help paint the picture of how they actually came across
What we believe, and again, this is all preliminary, but what we believe is they were walking either on the sidewalk or the grassy area between the street and the fence. And so they were not walking between houses, but alongside a roadway.
Chief, you tried to reach out to the suspect earlier. Do you think this suspect or suspect still has a message for police?
Well, again, we've opened ourselves up for a message, and that's why we asked him to contact us and gave him phone numbers to contact us at. And again, we won't understand what the motive might be behind this or the reason behind this until we have an opportunity to talk to the suspect or suspects that are involved.
How hard are
you guys being on the lookout for objects that are suspicious? Should people adjust their lifestyle in any way until there's a solution to this?
Well, I think people need to be vigilant. People need to pay attention, as we've been saying, back since the past week and a half, is pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention in your neighborhoods. If things look out of place, if there are suspicious persons, call us, let us know what's going on, and that way we can come out and we can look into that to see if it is at all related to what we're having happen in Austin right now, or if it's not, and therefore we can put that to rest.
This is sophisticated. This is a sophisticated device. Does the tripwire suggest a military background?
You know, a tripwire doesn't necessarily suggest that there's a military background. What it does suggest, though, is that the suspect or suspects that we are dealing with have a higher level of sophistication than maybe we initially thought, based on them changing their methods to a more difficult device.
Yesterday afternoon, you asked the suspect to contact you with their message. Do you think last night was their response?
You know, we won't know that until we have an opportunity to talk to the suspect or the suspects, whether or not that was a motive behind this. That's just something we're not going to know. And to that end, again, I will reach out to the suspect or suspects and ask that you contact us, ask that you reach out to us, communicate with us so that we can put this to an end. There are innocent people getting hurt in this community, and it needs to come to a stop. The last thing we want to have is another injury or another death in our community related to this incident. Thank you.
Alrighty, and you heard him. He was saying the people in that neighborhood are instructed to shelter in place. Shelter in place. Does anybody have any idea what that sounds like? I know what it sounds like to me, certainly. But, this is insane. This is really, really insane. Another thing that he mentioned during that press conference was how they were going to go around and find the houses that had security cameras and get the footage from security cameras. I would urge any of those, and I know we're probably not reaching those particular households. However, you can spread the message to help maybe get to them. Make a copy of anything. Give them a copy. You keep the hard copy. They can have the copy of that videotape, because these things, this is not nearly the first time that an incident has happened, and the quote unquote authorities go around and they gather up all the information, and the next thing you know, everybody else is just left holding the bag, so to speak. So I would urge those people that live in those homes, or for any future events or anything that would happen in which you would be required or asked or threatened to give the video forward or audio or whatever it may be. Make a copy. Give them the copy. If they're not happy with that, and I would go even further than that, the original I would give to somebody that you know and that you trust, and I would not have it on the premises. I would not have it on the premises. And, give them the copy and tell them that's what you get. And I would let them know straightforward that, hey, there's more than one copy of this going around. So, that way it may be cut down on future issues, because something just, that this could be on the up and up with what they say. But, it's sad when you can't trust, when you absolutely can't trust a damn thing your government says. That's sad. That's sad. And I know that isn't going to sit well with some people, but that's not my fault. I didn't do it. I'm not the one in control. I'm not the one telling them to pull all kinds of crazy crap on their people and then expect the people to listen to them, expect the people to disarm themselves, expect the people to just bend down and kiss their boots. I'm not the one asking to do that. They are. And I know it's a very uncomfortable thing. I don't know what to tell anybody. I don't know what to tell anybody. The more we sit on our butts and not do anything about it, the worse it's going to get. And the worse it's going to be when we do decide to do something about it. It's up to the public. It's up to society. Just because somebody feels comfortable right now today doesn't mean that they're going to feel comfortable tomorrow. Okay? And that's something that folks in this society need to really start looking at, because it's, it goes beyond just me. It goes way beyond just me. What happens to others typically happens to us, given enough time. So anyway, let me go on over to the video that Smitty had made me aware of. Now, this is out of Michigan, I believe. Paw. I'm not sure, but that's what's on the video title. I'm going to go over to it, and I'm going to play it, and I want to point something out at the end that is, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it one bit, because it just doesn't make sense. It does not make any sense at all. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here's the video.
Chef, investigators found guns at the home of a Paw High School student who allegedly threatened to shoot up the high school. All Paw public schools are closed today following the threat and the student's arrest. News Channel 3's Rachel Glazer live outside the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office with the latest on this investigation. Rachel.
Yeah, Kirk, we just talked to the sheriff here within the last 15 minutes, and he tells us that if this tip had not come in yesterday afternoon, there's not a doubt in his mind that this morning there would have been a shooting at Paw High School. The 15-year-old boy, they had a search warrant at his home, and they found two guns, a rifle and a sawed-off shotgun packed in a backpack with lots and lots of ammunition sitting right by the door, ready to go this morning. Now, the sheriff tells us that the boy's family played an instrumental role in this investigation, preventing a shooting that could have been worse than the massacre seen at a Florida school just last month. All Paw schools are closed today. The sheriff says that's because they wanted to go through and search all of the buildings to make sure there were not any explosives inside. There were also bomb-making materials found inside the 15-year-old's backpack. He's facing a long list of charges today. He's expected to be charged as a juvenile, but for now he's just under arrest, being detained. There will be a heavy police presence at all Paw schools when they return tomorrow. Reporting live in Van Buren County, Rachel Glazer, News Channel 3.
So the really, really interesting thing to that I find is the fact that the backpack contained device or stuff to make an explosive device. The materials to make an explosive device is how they put it. And I don't buy it, folks. I just do not buy it. The reason why is because I don't know who in their right mind would put the materials to make an explosive device in a backpack and put the device together on site, on the scene where they're going to place the device. I don't know who ever has done that. There might be things that you might have to put together. You might have to put a detonator into a block of C4 or something like that, right? But you're not going to put some pieces of pipe and some pipe ends and let me guess, you got a cordless drill in there to drill out for the wick or what, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. I am not buying it. I'm not buying it for a second. I'll tell you what, there is so much of this going on right now. It's unbelievable. Now, on the other side of things, The guy could have had anything. The kid could have had anything in there that they would have declared as, oh, that's bomb-making material. I can't remember who it was or where, but they claimed that they had bomb-making materials. And in reality, they weren't bomb-making materials. They were household items that they had. And it was a guy that got, I think he had said some not so nice things about the government. And they went in and they confiscated his firearms. And it's been maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I think. And they made a real big to-do about this guy. And it was nothing. The guy had a bunch of firearms. But the stuff that he had was just simple household stuff. And it's not like it was all gathered in one place, on a workbench for making bombs. It was just stuff that they randomly picked out here and there and said, oh, you can use this to, make a bomb. Well, yeah, if you got bananas in your kitchen, guess what? You've got bomb-making materials, okay? Because you can get the potassium from bananas, okay? It's insane, folks. It is really, really insane. It reminds me kind of the electronic cigarette legislation, because the way they worded the legislation was that anything e-cigarette related, right? So we use cotton for wicks, and so people were talking about how all cotton was going to have to be heavily regulated. All batteries were going to have to be heavily regulated. And it really, the law, the regulation is that open. It is really that open. It's insane. And by the way, nobody has ever done anything yet to fix that issue either. And I didn't think they would. And in fact, I think it was the Attorney General, the original one, I think, actually was part owner of one of the major electronic cigarette companies. I don't know if he sold out his part or whatever happened. And so there was a lot of hope that when Trump took office that the regulation that's set to go into place was going to disappear. It's not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. Just like, as I've been saying all along, this mission that international interests are involved in is not going to stop. What's going on in this country, even what we see with McCabe and Comey and all this other nonsense, it doesn't make a bit of difference on the international scene. It doesn't. We're still rolling forward, even though the idiots on the left keep blaming Russia for everything and saying Russia helped Trump win the election and this, that, and the other thing. That's crazy talk, because we're closer, I would say, to war with Russia than we'd ever been in the history of this country. And they are pushing and pushing and pushing, and I don't think they're going to give up until there is a world war. And that is exactly what we are looking at. And I don't know if they're just, if part of what they're doing, and I'm sure it's at least part of it, is trying to distract us from what's happening internationally, or what the deal is, because that's like the Skipperl thing. They are just absolutely nonstop trying to blame Russia for that. Just like when that airline went down years ago, that commercial airliner, and they tried blaming Russia for the one that took it down. It's just nonstop, and I know what they're doing, and this is what we need to look at. This is what we need to focus on, because this is going to affect each and every one of us. They're building up something. They're building a backstory to something. And I am pretty sure, I am 99.999% sure that it's going to be because the lights are going to go out, and they need to build a backstory to say, these are the ones that did it. The lights are out. We'll help you when we can, but right now we need you to hand over your weapons. And I guarantee you, probably 60-70% of firearm owners will do so. And I know that's another thing that's not going to be popular, but you know what? Take a look around at what's happening right now, because the out of my cold dead hands crowd is now being more like, well, I meant maybe out of his cold dead hands, but mine, no, here you go. I don't want to fight. That's pretty much exactly what's going on. That's what I'm seeing what's going on. Yes, you have people standing up, but you have a lot of people that are cowering down. and I expected it. The same thing happened in the American Revolution that formed this country. The same thing happened. They started out with a large group of people that were saying that they would go to battle, they would go to war to fight for the independence of this country, and many of them caved in immediately once it became reality. And I expect the same thing to happen this time around when it comes to guns. But I think they're going to add something to it that's going to make it to where people are going to have some hard choices to make. I covered some of that in another video when I talked about Operation Mountain Guardian. I really do think that the lights will go out. I do think that it will likely happen during the day and during the week while children are in school. I think those children will likely be taken to places like stadiums and whatnot, smaller towns. I don't know where they'll take them. Could be just the school auditorium or whatever. But I think what's going to happen is I think people, in order to pick up their children, they're going to have to turn over their firearms. Because let me tell you something, folks. I know that they say there's no national gun registry. I also know that they're lying to you. That is exactly what the background check is. There again, you got the left saying, we need background checks, we need background checks. There are background checks. There have been background checks. What we need is to get rid of the background checks. We need to get rid of all of that. We need to get rid of absolutely everything. And I know some people will say, well, what if a guy's been convicted of this, or what if this or that or that? I don't care. I don't care. If you don't know who it is that might pop you in the head because you're being stupid, then you're less likely to be stupid. Now, if that wasn't the case, then you would have people going into gun shows and shooting the place up. But we don't see that. Why don't we see that? Because they know what the outcome of that one will be. That's exactly why we don't see that. Okay, so we have to use our heads here. They play these games with us. It's social engineering. Hitler did the same thing, and I can't. It's another one of those things like trying to get people to read Agenda 21. You know, do a little bit of research on Nazi Germany and Hitler and his techniques and how he did things, and it's scary. It's absolutely horrifying because that is exactly what's going on. All the way down to the kids walking out and protesting, gun ownership in schools. Insane, folks. Absolutely insane. So keep an eye on everything. Keep a very, very close eye on everything and stand your ground. It's better to stand your ground today than to wait until a week from now when they're even that more prepared. And not only your ground, but stand for your neighbor's ground or your brothers and sisters' ground. Get out there and stand for other people. If you expect people to stand for you, you better stand for them because there ain't going to be nobody left. If you're one of those people that don't want to stand for anybody, guess what? When it comes your turn, there's not going to be anybody left. It's that simple. It really is that simple.